my mother, as a matter of fact, speaking of her, she was in, and you know, they were all strong women. They led their families. And so I always took it for granted that that's what women do. So I take care of all the finances and make the decisions in our household. And then also, they also instilled in me that family was very important. And I took that for granted, that I thought that was what everybody did. And until later on in life, when I went into the workforce and I found out all the dysfunctional families that didn't even speak to each other. Anyway, but my family lived and I grew up in the best times. If you were the right color, they protected me from discrimination and color, because I didn't even know I was poor. And when I heard my uncle speak, they say there was poor and there was poor. We were probably poor, and I didn't even realize it until my my youngest daughter, went to TCU and wrote a paper and talked about how poor we were. I said, oh yeah, we were poor. We've always helped everybody else. My family was always very involved in the community. And my father, we grew up on Weisenberger, like I said, with all the livestock, because the streets were like callejones. They didn't have, which are alleys, they didn't have dirt road. I mean, it was all dirt. So if not that we had good shoes, but just to protect our shoes, when it rained, we'd have to walk in the mud to get on the bus, and then when we got to school, wash off our feet to put our shoes on. You know, no matter if it was cold or if it was whatever, because the teachers wouldn't let us walk in with muddy shoes. Anyway, what else were you going to ask? I'm sorry.
No, could you please tell me any of the community organizations you were in, whether it's political, church?
Oh, yes.
And also you said your family was involved in other organizations.
Yes, my father was probably the best role model there was. He wanted to fix these alley streets. He wanted to take care of his community, and he found out that the only way you could do that was through politics, and because going to City Hall. So his neighbors who didn't speak English were losing their homes because they didn't understand. There was a board and commissions committee that they'd go up to the hearing and they'd tell them they have so many days to fix the house. Well, they didn't understand that. So they'd tear down their house. They'd lose their house. So my father was upset with that. So he went to go talk to the city about that. And they said, well, I tell you what, Mr. Sandoval, why don't you come and be part of this? So my father talked his boss into letting him off once a month to serve on the Board and Standards Commission. And he'd give up his hourly wage to do this. And then he found out that there was more into politics. Politics was everything. So when he got out of the service, he was a World War II veteran, Jesse Domingo Sandoval. And so he found out that his friends were not being able to get the health care that they needed because they were Mexicanos, even though they had fought in World War II, and they weren't even allowed to be buried in the white cemeteries, the regular white cemeteries. So he helped start the American GI Forum, and he served on the state board with Dr. Hector Garcia, who started it in Corpus Christi, and my father was the president in Tarrant County. And from that, they did the poll tax drives for $3.50. You had to pay a poll tax. That was a lot of money back then. And then he would get me out there, and my brother, and my sister, after church. We'd have get the poll tax out. So we tried to sell the poll tax. Well, it was hard to sell the poll tax, even though we were there and we were telling them how important it was and how we needed to have a voice, and the only voice was voting, you know. And so my brother and I were out there. My brother, he's about 4 years younger than me, but he was the one that would do the manual labor and doing the signs, because it was the old-fashioned way, and stuff like that to get the people to protect us.